Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Merlin Models, and this is part 3 of the runner build. In today's video, we're going to be building the engines, wiring those engines, and then attaching those to the main body. Here's a list of all the parts you're going to need and all the tools you're going to need. All right, let's go over all the parts you're going to need for this. So you're going to need your center engine. You're going to need your LSC engine, which is the port side middle engine. You're going to need your starboard side middle engine. You're going to need your starboard side lower engine. Going to need your starboard side lower middle engine. Port side middle engine. Port side upper engine. Port side upper middle engine. Starboard side upper middle engine. Port side lower engine. Starboard side upper engine. Going to need your number 1 frame piece. Your 2 center engine cores, both of your side engine cores, all of your little fences, there should be 8 of them, your bag of engine caps, your 2 bundles of LEDs. The larger bundle is going to be all your red LEDs. The smaller bundle is going to be your yellow LEDs. These are the ones that'll go in the middle of your LED array. Your LED array holder, your quick connects for your engine wires, your extra bundle of wire, and you may need more than this if you plan on giving yourself extra room to play around with, so it makes it a little bit easier. I'm probably going to add a little bit more than what came in the kit just to be on the safe side. And you're going to need all of your LED diffusers that come in a bag like this, so they're all kind of like clear. And for this episode, the tools you're going to need for this are a soldering iron with solder. I'll explain about that here shortly. Some wire snips, some wire strippers, heat shrink, your CA glue and accelerant, your epoxy, 5-minute epoxy, your mixing cups, applicators, and stirring sticks for the epoxy, some tweezers, a drill with a 8mm drill bit on it, a sanding block, I chose 100, a file just in case you need to do any adjustments, and a heat gun. All right, that should be everything you need to complete this last section. Let's go ahead and start prepping some of the pieces. All right, guys, so let's start prepping these parts. So the first thing we need to do is take these engine core blocks, which is going to be the 2 side pieces and these 2 large pieces. And we actually need to go ahead and take our 8mm drill and drill these little spots out. So this is going to allow for the wires to pass through from the engines to be able to put them in the actual core itself. As you can see, there's already some pre-marked areas for you to be able to put your drill into. It may be hard to see. There you go. So let's go ahead and do this, and let's start with the side ones. So first of all, take your 8mm drill. You're just going to want to just let the drill do all the work for you. Just want to go slow. You don't want to go fast. Let the drill do all the work. All right. Let's go in the middle. Be careful whenever it actually punches through. It's going to want to grab it, so just be extra careful. It may rip it out of your hands if you don't go slow. All right, there's one side. So I got the middle meeting up with this one side. Let's go ahead and do this other side. All right, move that off to the side. All right, so now we got the 2 sides done with meeting up in the middle. Now we just have to do this last one right here, which is the back. It doesn't take much. This one's a little bit thinner. And there we have it. Those are both done. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this other side, and then I'll see you guys in a sec. All right, now that we have both of those done, let's go ahead and cut these guys out. There's one. Two. Perfect. I apologize they went through the lettering it's okay. It'll be easy to understand which ones goes where. All right, let's do this last one. One. All right, there we go. Both of those are done. So now that we have our engine cores done, let's move on to another part that we need to prep. For this next part, we're going to actually be adding the fences to all of the detailed panels. So you are only going to be adding fences. So you're only going to be adding fences to pieces that have actual detail on them like this. Don't worry about any of the middle engines. Those don't have any fences. It's only really the outside pieces. So the ones that actually have this kind of a parts section or detail section. So anything with this detail section is what we're going to add the fences to. All right, guys, now that we have all of our engines, minus the side ones, you want to get all the engines that have this little detail part in, which is most of the outer engines. Don't worry about any of the middle ones. And we're going to be applying this part to all of these like this. So we're just going to be gluing this on, kind of bridging this little gap between here and that, like the ridge on this guy and the ridge up here. So, and the way you want to orient these is you need to have them with the, you notice there's a flat side and then there's a more of a detail side. So the detail side is what's going to be facing out like this. And you're going to want the thicker end to be up here by the detail like this. So this is basically how you're going to position all of the little fences, just like this. So let's go ahead and do one, and then I'm going to do all of these real quick off camera for you. For this, you're going to need your Star Bond, CA glue, and then you're going to need your accelerant. It'll make it a lot easier. So I think what I'm going to actually do, it doesn't take much. I'm going to put a drop of glue, essentially, right on the edge of these little squares, like right there. And then we're going to do a little bit wider drop right here on the edge of this guy. See? And then all you have to do, just take your time. Oop. Position it kind of where you want it, which is basically, it's almost like kind of like lining the edges up to each other. And then use your accelerant to seal it. And there you go. Pretty simple. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these, and then I'll see you guys in a sec. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and put this away. And let's bring out our sanding block and our LED diffusers. So these were cast in clear, which you can use if you want, but I like more of a smoky color like this to help diffuse the light for the LEDs better, so you get more of a nice blend. So basically we just want to take our sanding block or whatever sandpaper you want to use, and I'm just sanding the back. So you'll see there's two sides to it. There's a side that's kind of raised and got like a little center ring on it, and then there's one side that's real nice and smooth. See? So I'm going to take the side that's nice and smooth, and I'm going to scuff that up with my sanding block. So you can use whatever method you want. I'm just using the sanding block because I figured it'd probably be easiest. Or you can use, honestly, even a rotary tool to kind of scuff it up even better if you have like one of those Scotch-Brite pads on the rotary tool, like your Dremel tool. But I'm just going to use 100 grit sandpaper and just get it nice and kind of smoky like this. So let me do it to all of these, and then I'll see you guys in a second. All right, guys. Now that you have these guys done, let's go ahead and move them off to the side, and we'll use them here in a little bit. For this next section, we're going to need the soldering iron, your large bundle of wires, and your small bundle of wires. You also need your snips. And so the reason what we're going to do today, so the reason why we have the soldering iron out is because you see they have a resistor on them. Well, in order to get them to work properly with the Arduino, you actually need to cut that resistor off and resolder this wire onto the raw LED. The Arduino can only push about 5 volts, and these LEDs are rated for 12 volts, which is, honestly, if you're not using Arduino, you don't really need to do this, but you won't have any of the cool effects that the Arduino will provide. It'll just be a straight just power, which should work because this is, I'm pretty sure these are 9 to 12 volt resistors. Since I'm going to be using a Arduino, I'm actually going to snip as close as I possibly can to the resistor, like this. And then I'm going to cut out the resistor, essentially, like that. And then you can see you have a little small bit left, and we're just going to solder these two together. And you're going to want to heat shrink that little guy just to protect it. This is also better if you have helping hands, but I could not find my helping hands at the moment, so we're going to just do it the old-fashioned way. Now that we're up to temp, let's move this to the side. Let's go ahead and take this off. I'm going to kind of get a little bit of solder, try and get a little glob on top of my soldering gun, and then we're just going to do just a little patch right there. And that's it. Resistor gone. So now you just got to do that to the other, make sure it's connected, yep. And you just got to do that to the other batch. So the way there's 2 batches right here is because the smaller batch is going to be all your center wires, which is a yellow LED. The large batch right here is all red LEDs. So I would recommend doing a batch at a time, like keeping them grouped together so that way you don't actually get them mixed up, because you cannot tell which one's which once you get them mixed up. So I'm going to go through and do all of these. So let's add our heat shrink real quick, so that way you can kind of see. So just slide it on. There you go. And then use your heat gun. I'm using the smallest heat shrink I have because these wires aren't very big. All right, and there we have it. One completed LED. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of these LEDs. Remember to keep them grouped so that you don't get them mixed up, and I will see you guys in a second. All right, guys, after a little bit of time, we got our LEDs all fixed up. So remember to keep them in 2 separate piles, because otherwise you may lose your yellows. So you don't want to do that. All right, so this next part we need to do is get all of our LED holders, essentially. So you're going to take one of your array holders, and we're going to do the yellow LEDs, which is from the small pile. That's going to go into your middle one right here. And you're just going to glue that in. And you want to make sure that the lip is what's facing up, not the smooth side that goes towards the back of the engine. So let's go ahead and start gluing these in. So basically I'm just going to kind of put it here and use our CA glue, like that, and fix it. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of these guys real quick. So I will see you in 1 second. All right, guys, now that we have all those done, let's go ahead and start adding all of our red ones. So the reds just basically just go all the way around. This is going to be the most time-consuming part, other than having to swap out all the resistors on these. So I apologize, but hey, that's model making, right? All right, let's do the next one. All right, and next one. Last one. All right, there we go. There's our LED array. So what we need to do for this is basically we need to kind of like bunch it together. And we're going to take these little guys connectors right here. And basically all you do, here I'll show you, lift these up. I'm going to cut these probably, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it about halfway. So you have the length, the full length right here. I'm going to cut it about halfway. So let's just go ahead and just make our cut. There you go. Now I'm going to put these away off to the side. So in case you do run a wire, it's good to have these as a backup because you can always put them together and make some more wire. All right, now that I've got that cut, let's go ahead and grab our wire strippers and we're going to strip the wires. Now that we've got our wires stripped, I'm going to combine all the positives together and we'll combine all the negatives together. So you want to twist in a clockwise rotation. Same with the negatives now. All right, since I already have my solder gun out, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of solder to this just to make sure I get a nice clean connection. All right, now that we have our solder on, what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to choose blue as my negative. So I'm going to push all of these in together until where you feel it kind of butt up against the end and then clamp it down. There we go. So now you got a nice solid connection. So let's do that again over here. For the positives, let's kind of push it in until you can't feel it want to go anymore and then clamp it just like that. And there we go. We have all of our wires bundled together. We got our positives on the orange, negatives on the blue. And then basically all we need to do now is take our wire that we had and then we're going to strip the wire just like that. Doesn't require much. Go ahead and clockwise these. And then we're going to open up the other side. And then stick our wires in. All right, there we go. Make sure it's connected. And with this side, nice and connected. And there we go. So here is our step down from 5 wires down to 2 wires. So we need to do this for all of these guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that real quick and then I'll see you guys in a second. All right, guys, I end up running out of regular wire. So what I did was I took some of these extra ends of the LEDs and used those as pigtails to give me extra length. So these are all done now. So what we're going to do now is take one of our engine caps and I'll show you guys how this goes together. So if you look inside there, basically what we're going to do is take the side that has the bump out on this, and this is going to face down. See? And you'll have it like this. And then we're going to add our drops of glue. Maybe a couple of drops here and there. You don't really technically have to go all the way around. Then make sure it's nice and centered. And then fix it. All right. That one's ready to go. So now what we're going to do next is take our bundle, and then you see this little lip in here. This is basically going to rest on that lip like this. And that's going to be technically our engine light assembly is this. So what we're going to do is put a couple of drops on here, on this lip. Just do kind of some right here. And do some over here. And we'll do a little bit right here. And then we'll drop on our LED. And hit it with the spray. Just like that. And now we have engine light assembly. So this is what's going to go in your engines. So, and then the little pigtails what comes out into the main core area. So for us to tie them all together to run a single line to the plug in the middle. So now that this is done, let's do that to all of these. And I'll see you guys in a few seconds. All right, now that those are all done, let's go ahead and move on to our engine core block. So let's grab our one piece and our second piece. And what we're going to need to do, mine has a little bit of slag right here from the molding, so I'm just going to sand that out a little bit, not that much. Just needs to get, just to make sure it's nice and flat right here. Cool. All right, so, and then this one looks pretty good. Sand this out a little bit right here. Not much. Like I said, just trying to make it nice and flat. So let's go ahead and for this part, we're going to actually use epoxy to adhere these together. Mainly because this is kind of more of a core component. I want to make sure it's super strong. So let's grab one of our mixing cups, our 5-minute epoxy, stir stick, and our applicator. So remember 50-50. Doesn't need a whole lot. Just enough to coat basically these 4 surfaces is what we want to coat right now. So let's go ahead and mix it up. There we go. Set this off to the side where it doesn't get all messy. And then we're going to take our epoxy brush. I'm going to add it to all 4 of these little surfaces. Don't want to put a ton. Because you don't want to ooze it out. It's going to require cleanup if you do. So we're just going to put just enough to give it a nice good coat. Same thing on the back of these little tabs. I haven't really seen anything. Nice and painted. I said, don't want to put too much, so if you need to wipe some away, that's okay. Just wipe some away and then move it to one of the tabs. All right. So put that right there. Essentially, you're just going to put it on like this. So do your best to line it up. All right, so I'm just going to do my best to hold it all nice and square, just like that. All right, and then just give it light, gentle pressure for now, and then I'll see you guys in 5 minutes. All right, guys. Now that it's all mostly solidified, let's go ahead and grab your CC engine and your #1 frame support. So when you're looking at this engine core, this little notch right here is going to be facing up. So all this detail right here, this is going to be your up detail. So, and then same thing with the CC. So the CC is going to fit facing up is what you want to do for that. Since this is more of a core piece, I'm actually going to epoxy this one as well, just to make sure that this whole structure that's attaches to the back of the runner is going to be, fully just solidified. So let's mix up another batch of epoxy. Oh, to give you an idea of what this does, so the CC is going to fit into the back just like this. You can kind of see how it fits in there. It's a little loose, but once we take this #1, you're going to kind of like work it in there like that. And then it's going to basically like sandwich the engine core and the engine itself. So it's that way it doesn't want to move. So we're going to basically put epoxy on the back of this and around all faces of this as well. So we're going to put epoxy all the way around the outside of this. a little bit around on the outside of this, so that way it goes together. And then you want to put it along the whole outside face right here of this, and then this whole back. I'll show you, and then this is going to just kind of like wedge up in there and basically make a nice little sandwich. So don't get any on the inside, because that's what we need, that to stay nice and true to the 20 mils, so that way it slides real nicely onto the engine. Let's go ahead, mix up our epoxy, and we'll get it all done. All right, so let's go ahead and paint this guy up. So remember, don't rush. You have 5 minutes. You want it to be a little tacky anyways. A little dab on the inside of this guy. Just like this. Okay. So let's go ahead and, so remember, CC goes up. So CC up, this. All right, and then we're going to take our little number 1 guy here, and we're going to apply some generous amounts of epoxy on the top, the sides right here, and the bottom. Just like that. Then I'm going to take it and kind of just place it in there, right in the middle. You have to work it a little bit. There you go. You want to get it all down in there. That's what it should look like. It's like that. So remember, with the number 1 up. So I'm going to hold this and let it dry. And then once we do that, we can move on to the other engines. Okay, guys, now that that's mostly dry, why don't we go ahead and start adding these to the engines. So we'll start with this one, and we'll start with our center port side engine. Basically, you just need to take your wires, shove them in there. It should just come right out the tip. Cool, just like that. So the way these lines work, as you can kind of see right there, these lines will match up like this. That's how you want to do your engine, because then on the bottom, see how the cavity matches up? So that's how you want to glue this in. So I'm just going to basically put just a little bit of glue, not too much. Just put a little bit right there. Also probably too much, but a little bit right there. And then we're just going to glue it in, just like that. So do your best to kind of center it. And that should be it. You can also see it lines up right here too. There we go, just like that. All right, so now we're just gonna do that to all the different engines, and then I'll see you guys here in a second. All right, guys, so I got all the other engines done, so I'm working on the middle at the moment. So what you're gonna have to do on this guy, probably gonna have to snake your wire in as far as you can, and then kind of hold it, and then pull the rest out with some tweezers, like this. So now that we have all of our engine bottoms done, our engine LED is in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put a little bit of glue right here on the one, and we're gonna glue these two wires, because remember you have the bar is going to have to go through there. So in order to keep it in the center, we're basically going to have to kind of glue these wires up and out of the way so they straddle in the valley of the frame, like that. See? So make sure it's on the one. All right, with that, we can actually start beginning assembly of the core. For this one, you're going to need the two engines that have these nodules in the middle. And then you're going to need the two engines with these vents on the bottom. So these are the bottom ones, the bottom engines. And those are going to go left and right on this guy. So I'm actually going to start with the bottom, and then we'll kind of go from there. So what we're going to do is take the CBR engine, and it's going to go into the CBR port, which is right here. So we're going to take our wire, thread it through. And then as you can see, we'll do like a little test fit just to be on the safe side. Make sure there's nothing obstructing it. All right, so it's looking pretty good. So what we're going to do is take our glue. We're going to kind of glue all around here. Be a little liberal with it if you want. So we just want a nice, even amount of coating. I'm going to put quite a bit on this guy. So you don't want these coming out. All right, and then just kind of stick it on. There you go. Make sure you grab the wire so it's kind of off to the side, just like that. So you just may have to hold it for a few seconds for it to cure up. All right, now that's on there, nice and glued, let's go ahead and run the other one. So poke that through there. Apply some generous amount of glue. And then kind of glue it down. Use your accelerant wherever you need it. All right, and there we have it. We got the two bottoms on. So let's go ahead and do the two tops. And then the whole engine core will be done. Then all we have to do is do the side engines and then plug those in. So, sweet. All right, let's start with let's do the top left, top port side. So grab our top left, which is the CTL. We're gonna put let's check our fitment first. So run your wire. And just double check everything fits all nice and clean, which it does. So what we're gonna do, everything's all fitting up nicely. I'm gonna go ahead and apply my glue. Very liberally. Fit it on down in there. And just gonna make sure it's all nice and squared up where you want it. And then go ahead and hit it with accelerant. All right. That side's done. Now let's go ahead and run the last one on the top, middle, and then we can switch to the sides. So do a test fit, run your wire. Oh yeah, look at that. All right, fits good. So go ahead and apply your glue. Nice and liberally. All right. Make sure your wire is all the way through. Mine was not. And then pop it on. Good to go. All right, there's our engine core block. That looks awesome. It's all wired up. Got all our wires coming out the front right here, which is what we want. All right, so we'll put this over here off to the side. Let's work on the side engine. So let's go ahead and do the starboard side first. The starboard side has the Roco mini tank side on it. And we're going to go ahead and make sure it says R on this. So you want the ones they say RSB and RST. Those are the ones we want for this. So this one doesn't have any lettering on it for some reason, but that's going to be RSB. So let's run our wire through the middle. You may have to use your tweezers to kind of mess with it a little bit, but it should go through pretty nicely. And then you want to basically kind of fit up real clean, just like that. So fits very, very nicely. So let's go ahead and just apply our glue. I'm going to apply it to all the surfaces. I'll put a bead there, kind of a bead right along the seam. Just like that. Right along that seam. And then along this seam right here. To get that corner. Once you get all your glue on, just very gently place it into place. And then, be careful. Very gently put it in place. And cinch everything up. Be a nice tight fit. Just like that. All right, now that that one's done, let's go ahead and do the top. Actually, let's go ahead and do the middle. The middle one is going to look like this. It'll say RSC on it. And this one's going to go face up, just like this. Go ahead and run our wire through the middle. I said you may have to use your tweezers, but it looks like I was able to get it. And so run our wire. And then it should be pretty much a perfect fit. See? You'll see how it's a perfect fit because it lines up. See this little detail right here in the middle? Right there, you'll see it kind of like lines up nice and perfect. There you go, like that. Let's go ahead and apply glue around the outside of this guy's little nub. And then also on the face that touches the centerpiece. So kind of put some right here. Put some more right here. On the face. On the back side. All right, now you got your glue on. Make sure RSCs are facing up. And then you want to just stick it in. And then just take your time, make it nice and flush. Use the guide over here as help. Hold it there until it's solidified. So it may take a few minutes, but you want this nice and tight. I'm going to actually use a little bit extra on the side right here, just to make sure that connection's solid. A little bit right here too. All right. All right. There we have it. Those two. Man, those look great. Okay, all that's left to do is the top one. Let's put this over here. So that way we can grab our wires. It makes it just easier to put it through there. Kind of twist it a little bit. Now I want to take our engine, run the wire, kind of feed it through the middle. There we go. Just like that. And then just do a test fit. Make sure everything fits up nicely, which it does. Oh yeah, look at that gorgeousness. Woo, baby. That looks great. Okay. So let's go ahead and apply our glue. All right, so I'm going to just basically kind of do what we did before. I'm going to kind of glue these corners right here, the top. Just run a nice little bead right here. All right, and then we'll just make sure you pull your wires. We don't want those to get caught. And then kind of cinch it up. Just take your time, get it all nice and straight to where it's lined up nice and even. This corner fits good, the other corners fit good. And then just kind of hold it as best you can, and maybe if you run some accelerant if you can. Nice and clean. That. It should fit nice and straight up and down. Like it feel like it's nice and solid if you got everything all nice and aligned. All right, cool. So this side is done. Look at that. This looks gorgeous. All right. So you got all your 3 wires coming out through here, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side real quick. And then I'll be right back. All right, guys. So we now have all 3 engine components put together. So we have our 2 sides and our main engine core. So let's go ahead, and what we need to do is we're going to test fit the sides right here to make sure that these, if you look, there's a little bit of a nice key. So we need to make sure that this fits nicely in this spot. And then once we do, then what we need to do is we're going to actually epoxy these onto the main core and engine assembly. Let's go ahead and let's do some test fitting. Make sure there's nothing we need to adjust. And then we can start mixing up some epoxy. So let's set this on the side like this. Grab our wires. We want to feed those through. Just like this, out the middle. And then I'll kind of just sit that on there and see how it fits. Oh, it is a pretty much perfect fit. Okay. Well then, so let's see what's the best way to glue this on. I think it'd probably be this way. So since they're all nice and even in the vertical sense, I think what we may do to make this an easier assembly for us is we're going to stand it up like this. We're going to mix our epoxy, and then we're going to go right around, if you can see, we can go right around this base. So right around the mouth on the outside, and then on the flat parts too, and then inside this little key area, because that's going to fit perfectly right up in here. See, just like that. And then you can have a nice, good, easy press to hold it. Yeah, we have a little spaghetti of wires coming out, but it's okay. We're about to cut that down and turn this into a single bundle that comes to our plug. So let's go ahead and mix up some epoxy. Let's move this a little bit over here. We can move this out of the way for now. We'll do this one next. Don't need too much because it's only that one little area. So there's our black. There we go. All right, stir it up. Let's grab our applicator. Let's move this to the side a little bit so it makes it easier for us to paint the epoxy on. All right, so I'm just going to kind of get a nice good dollop on it. And then we're just kind of paint the outside of this guy. There we go, kind of right here along this. Now be careful not to put too much. It's very easy to put too much. All right, just like that. All right, I'm actually going to put a little bit on the inside of the opening as well. There we go. Watch out for your wires. You don't want them to get stuck. So now that we have our epoxy applied, grab all your wires that are coming out of there just to pull it taut. Don't want any of them getting sucked back into the body of that. And then you're going to want to nice and easily stick it on just like that. And then just hold it nice and square. So double check your alignment on everything. All right, just like that. And then I'm just going to hold this for 5 minutes and I'll see you guys in a sec. All right, now that that's in there, nice and solid, looks good. Oh man, look at that. It's awesome. Yeah, sweet. Now that's all basically solidified. Why don't we move on to this guy? So do the same thing. Bring him up on his side. Make sure these are all pulled out. Nice and taut. And then we're basically going to do the same thing. So we're going to feed our wires in through here. Let's go ahead and do a test fit. It's a little rocking though. So this is why we do test fits. Sometimes you have to adjust a few things. So I'm just basically kind of sanding this seam a little bit down just so it's nice and flush. Doesn't take much, just a little bit. Okay, add that through there. Which I know that's a mess. And it looks daunting, it's not. It's only, remember, it's only 11 sets of wires. So it's not too bad. It'll be a lot easier once we start cleaning it up. All right, so let's go ahead and mix up another batch of epoxy. Grab your applicator. And we're going to paint on our epoxy. Now that we have that applied, go ahead and grab our wires. Make sure you have all of them. And then we're going to kind of just do the same thing we did on the other side, kind of just slide it on in. Just like that. Perfect. Once it's all in there and you think everything's nice and seated, so step back, look at it, make sure it's all lined up, and then leave it alone, essentially. All right, I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'll see you guys here in a few minutes. All right, guys, I think it should be all nice and solid now. Look at this. Woo, that is a chunky, beefy engines. All right, so let's go ahead and clean up these wires. Let's see. So basically, we want to try and take all of these wires, and we want to bunch them into a single out. Let's just handle a section at a time, I think, would probably be the best thing. Go with these right here on the top middle, the top three, which is the middle one and then the top two, and kind of go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of pick a spot and then just cut it and then start twisting. So I'm going to probably pick about right here. Cut those. I'm going to take my wire strippers, strip the wires, maybe a full like centimeter. So let's go ahead and do another negative. We'll get the negatives done first. I think I may end up doing, we included one of these guys to be able to do this, but since there are 11 of them, I think what I may do, I may end up just soldering it and then running a heat shrink sleeve on top of this, because I don't think 11 will fit into these little holes. It's possible, but I'm just going to go ahead and the tried and true method, which is going to be solder the leads together. All right, so let's put our positive together now. We'll do a section by section, essentially, and then we'll combine them at the end. So we kind of like work around the circle. So I'm going to go in kind of a clockwise rotation. So since we got these at the top, the next will be the 3 from here. And then we'll do the 3 from here, and then the 3 from there. All right, so let's grab our wire we're going to bring the pigtail off of. So I got my red and black. It's about 11-ish inches. So this is what's going to tie all these into a single wire that's going to go through the top part of the channel and then out the side port so we can attach our little connector piece right here too. So this is what's going to plug into the other plug for power. So let's do one at a time. So I'm going to do my positives first. Let's grab all of our positives. We'll twist these guys all together first. Then we're going to splice in our new pigtail. Let's get our soldering iron out. Also, let me grab our heat shrink. So we do a large one like this to kind of fit over the whole thing. We'll do this much essentially for our cap. So if you want to use it to measure, it's a little bit, it's bigger than this guy. So maybe it's about the same. Oh, here we go. It's about the same width as the detail piece right here on the side. So let's grab our soldering iron, dab it on. Now, pardon me and my soldering skills, they're not very good. But I feel like that should do it. All right, so there's one. And then why don't we do the heat shrink now so we kind of get it out of the way. Heat gun. All right. Let's do the other guy. Do the same thing. We'll twist all these guys together. Like that. Then we'll get our negative. Twist him onto those. Then let's go ahead and get our soldering. Get it all worked into it, just like that. Nice and shiny. I'm gonna kind of do this. And we kind of like stuff it down over here and like the sides. Use our gun. All right. That's it for our 2 pigtails. I'm gonna kind of spread these a little bit. See how they kind of like straddle the space. So I'm just gonna take just a little small, it's a really small thing, heat shrink, just about this big. I'll put it on the ends because we can take it off here in a sec. Okay, heat shrink that. All right, move everything out of the way. So the thing you want to keep over here, we'll keep the base. We're going to get our little clip. This will be what gets attached to the end of this, and we'll plug into that other one. A mixing cup, a stir stick, an applicator, and your epoxy, because we're going to epoxy this whole base onto runner. All right, guys. So now that we have the engine's assembly completed, we can bring our runner front end. I took the cap off the side, so this is the pigtail I was talking about from the other video. What we need to do now is let's go ahead and we'll do a test fit. Remember the vents on the bottom, this is going to be your bottom. So I'm going to try and, what I did on the inside is we're going to kind of try and push everything around so that way you have a nice clean opening for the frame to slot into. It's going to be kind of a little juggling act because we have to hold this up while also trying to fish this through here. So I got my tweezers handy just in case. And I think since we put this piece right here on the end, it'll make it a little bit easier to fit underneath all this stuff. So honestly, well, actually, it may not require much. I can already feel it. Let's just try to slot this guy on. Like, it is quite heavy. So do your best. If you have someone to help you, definitely do that. That way they can hold it while you feed the wires in. So I'm going to go ahead and feed this wire through because it's a little hard to do this on camera and hold this up at the same time. And then I'll be right back with you guys. Get the wire out. Was able to feed it on. So now I'm just going to slowly work it on to help kind of get it in there. So now that that is connected, basically what we need to do now, be careful, we're going to kind of slide this out a little bit. Just like this. If you can, don't let it lose this. There we go, just like this. Since we do have a 5-minute, it is 5-minute epoxy, we can get all of our epoxy on. I'm going to put some epoxy on this as well. So we'll epoxy the end of this. We're going to epoxy around the end. And then I'm going to basically just kind of hold it there for about 5 minutes. And that should do it. So let's go ahead and mix up our epoxy. It's going to be more than what we did for the little small engines though. So pretty much to fill up the bottom reservoir or the bottom half of the cup. So then we're going to mix it up. All right, so I'm going to take my epoxy. I'm going to paint on top of this bar a little bit right here towards the end, around on the sides and stuff. So not having not the whole bar, just kind of like about the first inch or so of it, because that's what's going to go into the actual frame piece that we put in there. All right, and then let's go ahead and start right around here. Put a nice dollop right here. Now I'm actually going to do just a little bit of a wash on the inside of this. let's go ahead and add our engines. Forever. All right, so be careful. So do not let that go through. So if you have extra pair of hands, awesome. Just take your time. Just like this. There we go. All right. Looks pretty good. Got a little bit too much here, but it's okay. I'm going to wipe that off. I'm going to hold this. And I will see you guys in like 5 minutes. Real quick. So I'm actually going to do this. So I'm going to turn it up vertical like this and let it try and cure this way. So also clean up any extra spillage you may have. I'm going to grab an extra. I'm going to take this extra applicator and kind of push this down on it and then just kind of use my applicator to kind of get around those edges so you don't have any globs around the actual edge. All right, guys, I think I'm going to let this cure overnight. So I'm going to leave it in a vertical position. But we can go ahead and actually do the wire. Let's go ahead and clip the end. Let's get our wire cutters. Actually, I forgot, you actually don't need them. So the cool thing about this little connector is that, so first of all, you need to make sure you line them up properly. So, all right, so see, they go in like this, essentially. We need to make sure you don't need to actually have anything exposed. It has these little cutters in there that'll cut into the wire itself. So we need to make sure this is lined up. So we're going to do red is on this left side. And then the black is going to be on the other side. Now that we have those lined up, I'm just going to feed them down in there as to where they hit the base, essentially. And then you basically kind of lock it in, just like this. Once it's all locked in, I'm going to take my clips just to kind of like smash it down just a little bit. So check and make sure that they're nice and snug. Then all I have to do, plug it in. So upside down to each other. There you go. Double check your positive to positive, negative to negative, all right? You're all set, so now you can put it in here. Put your side piece on. And we have a completed blockade runner. All right, guys, check it out. We have a completed blockade runner. It is glorious. Everything is all nice and glued up. I'm going to let it sit up in this position for now, just so that I can make sure that the glue has time to harden. So we're going to let it harden overnight. But it is complete. In the next video, which is the final video, we're going to go over wiring up the Arduino. I'll show you how to upload the code, how to solder in your pins for this guy, and then we're also going to complete the escape pod. So you guys have a great day, and I'll catch y'all later.